There are lots of meaningful takeaways that students should get from this course, from the psychology course. And there's so many content-specific things that you find in these chapters. And unfortunately, the research on specifics is not great in terms of a fact or something, the number of people that are addicted to whatever substance. It's important to know, and it's important to understand addiction, but those specific facts often aren't there a year later, 2 years later. And so I'm always asking myself, what will I teach that is so important that they will remember, that this is something that they will keep with them? And what I tend to fall toward, actually, by the conclusion of the course, there are certain skills that I hope come out of the course that students have that they will keep forever. And these skills all relate back to the science of psychology. We know that we live in an information age. We know that we live in a social media age, and our students are bombarded with information on whatever social media platform. How often do those students stop and corroborate something that they've heard about some kind of a fix for, we just mentioned addiction, or something that that they see somebody doing on a TikTok? Well, a key takeaway for me are then these skills that would be along the lines of corroboration. Once you have heard something, can you corroborate it? This is what psychologists do all the time. This is what the scientists of psychology do regularly with the research that they have. Anything that's published in our book has been reviewed by peers of that area to make sure that the methods that were used to come up with that information were valid and that they're reliable. So these are other key terms. Do I have a valid source? Is it a reliable source? And so if we're talking about corroboration, we're talking about sourcing, two important skills. I would add to that list contextualization. What's the context for which something was taking place? So if somebody was apathetic in a situation and didn't help somebody, what were the contextual pieces of that may have had an impact on that person's behavior? Same way with somebody who conforms. Those contextual elements are very important because we know human behavior doesn't exist in a vacuum. So I look at those skills as being a very key takeaway, and to be able to think scientifically, which is what these skills really push you to do, not just while you're in the classroom, but in any setting for the rest of your life.
We've spoken of the challenges of teaching an intro class, but there are also opportunities. One of the first is there aren't very many at the high school level. Students take a history class. They've taken history before. They take a math class. They've taken math before. They've taken English before. And when students enter those classes, unless they're really interested in that subject, there tends to be kind of a ho-hum aspect to it, because a part of the course, at least, is review. This year's course builds on what you did last year and the year before that. Psychology is fresh. They have never taken a psychology class before. And wow, the opportunities that produces for students. Randy speaks of skills that you can establish. And I think skills are important. I wholly agree with that and agree to its importance. And we also agree that a lot of the details are going to fall by the wayside, some very quickly, some before the test. And that's okay. I mean, that's part of the way we operate. But I like to think about themes, not so much skills, but themes. And if I can start my course and start my unit by identifying a very few themes that I can hammer away at again and again and again, there's an increasing likelihood that they'll carry some of those themes with them and be able to use those themes beyond the course. A couple examples. Students often enter psychology courses with an entirely erroneous notion of memory and how memory operates. Most people view memory outside of psychology as sort of a recorder function, a video function, where I capture things through my lenses and my microphones. And then when I want to remember, I play it back. And we know for certain that memory doesn't operate that way. Memory is constructed from bits and pieces that are stored away. It's like a jigsaw puzzle with pieces missing. And we make things up, logical things to fill in those pieces. This comes up again and again and again, especially in legal situations, eyewitness testimony kind of situations. Boy, if I can get my students to remember that memory is constructed, that's a lot, and that's going to serve them well. One other example, the notion that development is a lifelong process. We tend to think of what it used to be called child psychology and how children develop and change. I mean, it's obvious. They change before our eyes on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. But we often miss the fact that it's a cradle-to-grave process. And that not only are children developing, they may sense that they're developing as adolescents, but we're developing as their instructors. Their parents are going through developmental processes. Their grandparents are going through developmental processes. And it often helps, I think, people to understand where mom or dad are coming from, where Gramps or Uncle Fred is coming from, if we know that they're dealing with their own developmental issues. Those are the kinds of things I want them to remember after they graduate from high school, when they're young adults, when they're parents, as they work their way through their own lives.